And is this, again, the fault of climate change?
Madam Minister.
One of the main drivers of the increasing crisis of food affordability, and that's climate change. In fact, report after report talks about climate change deeply impacting the cost of groceries, whether it's beef or
charmer,
vegetables
guys.
or
Like Patty
fruit.
Hadju is going to turn it up. Watch her go. Do you think we're going to get any answers? Give me a break, Patty Hadju. Watch her in action.
Senator Housakos.
Minister, welcome to the Senate. Minister, families across Canada are experiencing the worst affordability crisis in a generation. Despite the rosy picture painted by your government's photo ops and the government leader's constant claims here in the Senate, an average family of 4 is projected to face a $1,000 increase in grocery costs next year. Food bank usage has reached a record high of 2.2 million visits per month, double what it was just 6 years ago. Affordable housing remains a distant dream for most Canadians, and household debt has climbed to a record 180%, the highest in the G7. Minister, after a decade of Liberal government, why does life continue to become more expensive for Canadian families?
Madame la Ministre.
Well, thank you very much, Senators. And first, let me just say what a pleasure it is to be with all of you. And Madam Speaker, thank you so much for the invitation to come to question period. I would like to start by saying that this government has been very focused on supporting people who are struggling, whether it is ensuring that benefits like the Canada Child Benefit, Old Age Security, GIS are indexed to inflation, or through innovative programs like the Canada Dental Care Plan that's providing dental care treatment for some of the lowest income Canadians across this country, or historically, whether it's through early learning and childcare, which in Ontario, on average, families are seeing a savings of $10,400 a year. This government is focused on doing things for and with communities and families and provinces and territories that we know actually is improving things for families. I'm especially proud of the school food program, which supports provinces and territories to ensure that kids get a healthy meal at school. And I was recently in a school called St. Edward's in Nipigon, Ontario, in my riding, a very small community, where it was obvious that teachers, volunteers were so proud of the work they were doing to support their students, and the students themselves were so happy to gather around a meal and start their day with a full belly. So there are things we can control, Madam Speaker, and there are things we cannot. We are focused as a government on supporting
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Senator Housakos.
Minister, no amount of photo ops and no amount of litany of programs that you have in place that are there to get things better are going to change the fact that Canadians are facing food insecurity, job insecurity, risking costs, and disbelief. At this point, there's a complete disbelief that the government is actually solving the problem. We're looking at the numbers of people going into food banks, people that can't buy a house. It's getting worse every year over the last 10 years. It's not getting better. When will your government acknowledge the strain Canadians are facing and change the methodology so we can get a different result?
Madame la Ministre.
Thank you very much. And although Conservative colleagues in the House of Commons continually report food bank statistics, they also fail to report one of the main drivers of the increasing crisis of food affordability, and that's climate change. In fact, report after report talks about climate change deeply impacting the cost of groceries, whether it's beef or vegetables or fruit, imports, and food grown here in Canada. And although there are things we cannot control about the price of food, what we can control is supporting families who are struggling. And that's why we continue to focus on things that help families, including early learning and childcare, which Kendra in Saskatchewan said allowed their family to send both their young children to daycare, enabling parents to grow their small businesses.
Merci, Madame la Ministre.
Oh, yeah.
Senator Martin.
I'm here. Hello, Minister. Since 2015, Canadians have witnessed historic federal deficits and debt, a weakened dollar, and declining investor confidence. The consequences are clear. Under your Liberal government, over $500 billion in investment has left Canada for the United States, and this year alone, an additional $40 billion in net investment has departed. These losses mean fewer jobs, less innovation, lower productivity, and declining living standards for families. Minister, how can Canadians have confidence in your government's economic management when global investors appear to have so little?
Climate change.
Madam Minister.
Well, actually, Madam Speaker, I would say that Canadians demonstrated confidence just 6 months ago when they elected our government yet again, and that is 3 elections in a row, Madam Speaker, that has demonstrated Canadians have confidence in a leader that chooses to unify, to pull people together, to work through difficult times. Madam Speaker, all countries have faced some extraordinarily difficult changes, whether it is as a result of the pandemic and the challenging economic landscape after the pandemic, global trade instability, the impact of tariffs. Canadians know what's happening, Madam Speaker, and they know that this government has their back in the good times and in the bad.
Senator Martin.
Well, it's 40 billion loss this year alone. So Canada's real GDP per capita is projected to decline for the 3rd consecutive year. Job creation remains fragile, and low-wage part-time work account for the majority of new positions. Meanwhile, young Canadians still face the toughest labor market conditions in over a decade. This is not the future they were promised, Minister. When will your government move beyond the empty promises and photo ops and begin delivering meaningful results for Canadians?
Madam Minister.
Madam Speaker, although it is a very difficult time for many Canadians who are experiencing job threats and losses as a result of unjust tariff action from our largest trading partner, we are also seeing some promising signs in the economy, Madam Speaker. In fact, we've had the 3rd month in a row where we've seen a net gain of jobs. We've certainly seen the 3rd month in a row in wages climbing. And so, Madam Speaker, although there are warning signs and certainly many areas that we must stay focused on, we must support workers who have been disrupted by trade. We must support critical industries like our steel industry. We must continue to ensure that young people have every opportunity to gain those experiences and those first jobs. We will continue on a path that invests in Canadians, that sells our country to the world.
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Senator Housakos.
Minister, last week on TV, you stated that there was a full transparency regarding Algoma Steel's planned layoffs, despite your government's nearly $500 million financing agreement with the company. But the truth is, your government never told Canadians that you knew about these impending job losses. We only found out because Algoma's CEO disclosed it publicly. Minister, if transparency was truly your intent, why were Canadians not informed that your government approved this loan while aware that significant layoffs were coming? And is this, again, the fault of climate change?
Madam Minister.
Madam Speaker, when our steel industry is under threat, it's a threat to our sovereignty. This government knows that without a strong steel sector, we cannot build up our military. We cannot build the infrastructure that we need if we are reliant on foreign steel to do that building. This is something that Conservative members of Parliament in the other place fail to recognize. This is ensuring that we save critical industries that are essential to the future of Canada. This is a Canadian company. 1,700 jobs have been saved at Algoma Steel. Algoma Steel is looking at new products and, in fact, has new customers lined up. That's good news, Madam Speaker, not just for Algoma Steel and the corporation, for Canada and for the workers of Sault Ste. Marie, who will be there to create those products with that company. I'm proud of the work that we're doing to save the steel industry, Madam Speaker, and we'll continue to do that work.
Senator Housakos.
Minister, you can save the partisan talking points for the other place. This place likes to deal with facts. Minister, your government has committed enormous sums to major corporations with troubling results. I'll share some with you. $15.5 billion to Stellantis, followed by 3,000 layoffs. $500 million to Algoma Steel, followed by 1,000 layoffs. $1.34 billion to Northvolt, only for the company to enter bankruptcy. Why does your government insist on spending taxpayers' dollar on risky corporate handouts when these decisions are repeatedly leading to lost jobs and significant losses to taxpayers?
Madame la Ministre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. What I would say is that we continue to bet on Canada. We're betting on Canadian companies, we're betting on Canadian workers, and we're making sure that Canadians have what they need to get through this difficult time. Make no mistake, Canada will emerge from this stronger, and it will be because they have a Liberal government and a Prime Minister focused on making sure that we protect Canadian companies and workers to deliver the goods and the infrastructure that we need.
Oh, yeah.
Senator Martin.
Well, I'll just add that this seems to be part of a troubling pattern. Your government did not disclose its prior knowledge of Algoma Steel's planned layoffs before approving a $500 million financing agreement. Then they tried to hide the contract with Stellantis that cost Canadians 3,000 jobs. And now your government seeks to grant cabinet ministers broad powers to exempt companies from federal laws in the name of innovation and economic growth. So I question again the confidence that Canadians should have in your government. But
And doesn't this stuff go through cabinet?
yes, does it not go through cabinet?
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madame la
And I would
Ministre.
imagine senators know that what goes through cabinet is subject to cabinet confidence in this place. I would suspect all senators would know that. I will say this, though. Canadians do have confidence. In fact, they elected us just a few months ago, and we sit on the side of the government, and that is because Canadians have extraordinary confidence in the experience of our Prime Minister, and they know that this government will be there for them in good times and bad. And week after week, in the other place, we field questions about all the ways that Conservatives would cut the very programs that that senators in this room today are speaking about with great pride and with encouragement to do more. In fact, that's what Canadians think. Canadians think that we should have a robust early learning and childcare system, that Canadians who are struggling should not go without supports, that we should make sure that children in schools are fed.
Merci, Madame la Ministre.
What? Oh, yeah.
I think I'll just blow by all the stupid slogans and answer the question.
Oh, yeah.
How many kids did you molest with Jeffrey Epstein?
More than just elbows.